Trump was jovial, recounting a story of a journalist being attacked by law enforcement. So I'm going to play this for you in a second. This is Ali Velshi. He's actually one of the very few voices, in my opinion, on MSNBC who's not bad. And honestly, the main reason for that is I think he's Canadian, and therefore he knows about healthcare policy a lot more than your average American. And he's one of the few people to actually kind of fearlessly argue for Medicare for all on a corporate media outlet. So I give him a lot of credit for that. He never backs down on that issue. I'm sure I have other disagreements with him, but on that alone, he's head and shoulders above and beyond almost any other person in mainstream media. So I have a soft spot for Ali Velshi for that exact reason. But he was at, when there was a lot of rioting and looting happening, he was at an event, let's say, because there was a report that came out. I think the number was 93% of protests around the country were totally peaceful. And then, that would be 7% that were violent. According to Ali, he was at one of these protests that was a totally peaceful protest, and he was doing his job. And then police, I believe, fired a rubber bullet at him or at his leg or something like that. And, it was in that moment that everybody realized, like, whoa, what is going on here? They've even gone as far as to arrest journalists who were clearly journalists. This is what some police departments have done around the country. And so, in other words, they're not abiding by freedom of the press, the First Amendment. And for a president who loves to pretend to care about this issue, he sure does have a strange take on this, doesn't he?
I remember this guy, Welchie, he got hit on the knee with a canister of tear gas, and he went down. He was down. My knee. Nobody cared. These guys didn't care. They moved him aside. And they just walked right through. It was the most beautiful thing. No, because after we take all that crap, for weeks and weeks, they would take this crap, and then you finally see men get up there and go right through. Wasn't it really a beautiful sight? It's called law and order. Law and order.
That would be the exact opposite of law and order, Donald. That's what that is. Law enforcement using unnecessary force against a journalist. Not only would that be illegal, that would also be unconstitutional because it violates the First Amendment, the thing you pretend to care about quite a bit. See, this clip, I think, demonstrates perfectly one of the main reasons why Trump is really struggling in this election so far. It's that he's tried to portray himself as like, I'm the candidate of law and order. I'm going to make sure we bring peace back to this country and peace in the streets. But in the process of making that argument, he endlessly contradicts himself because he's not really trying to bring people together and bring about peace. What he's doing is he's picking a side in disputes and then pouring fuel on the fire. That's exactly what this is. This is just like when he threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy the U.S. military on our streets, and then he gassed peaceful protesters to do a photo op with a Bible in front of a church. That's when his numbers plummeted. They plummeted when that happened. Why? Because everybody in the country who's not like hardcore MAGA already was like, oh my God, you're creating chaos. You're creating anarchy. You're creating an unstable situation. What would any normal president do in situations like this? You go out there and you do the rhetoric about we need to bring everybody together. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. We're all in this together. Law enforcement needs to abide by our highest ideals and principles. They cannot willy-nilly attack the media. Instead, he does the opposite. By the way, was Ali Velshi acting violent? Was he doing anything wrong? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Not even close. This guy wouldn't harm a fly. And he got attacked by law enforcement, and Trump is siding with law enforcement. And this is why there was a poll that came out recently asking Americans about law and order issues, and Biden was crushing Trump on the issue of law and order. Because everybody knows, Trump is the guy who's going to give us more chaos nonstop. And when you cheerlead people in the media getting attacked offensively by cops, yeah, that's exactly what it is. The people are right. The other thing this does is this does kind of incentivize and give a green light for law enforcement to do stuff like this. I mean, there's a famous clip, I think before Trump was elected at a rally, he talked about how, like, you know, back in the good old days, you don't have to be kind with these people. You be a little rough with them. You want to rough them up a little bit as you throw them into the back of the police cruiser? Go right ahead. This is the kind of guy he is. He thinks if you have a badge and a gun, you're a good guy by definition. So it doesn't matter. If you break the law, you are the law. What does this sound like? It sounds like Alonzo from Training Day, for those of you who've seen that. Great movie, by the way. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. I'm a big fan of Denzel Washington across the board, but the Alonzo character in Training Day was amazing. That's what Trump believes. That's what Trump thinks makes sense. That's what he views law and order as. So if you're an officer, you could break the law all you want, but it doesn't count because you're one of the good guys. And this is, by the way, the mindset of every American exceptionalist. When we do it, when we violate international law, invade countries, topple governments, that doesn't count as bad. It's either good, or even if it doesn't go the way we want it to, since our intentions were pure, therefore, it's okay. This is the mindset. And I need people to break away from that kind of thinking, because you sound like an idiot if that's what you believe. Because what you're saying is, the actions themselves, I'm not going to evaluate from a moral and ethical perspective. But that's, like, murder is wrong because murder is wrong. Killing somebody, killing an innocent person is wrong because it's wrong. It doesn't matter what your rationalization is, who you are, if you think your childhood was, led to this happening or whatever. None of that matters. Murdering innocent people is wrong. But a lot of people really do like to do the mental gymnastics and bring themselves to a position where, no, it's okay if I do it, because since I know I mean well, and since I had my reasons, and since I'm the one with the badge, and I'm the one, I'm doing it for the higher cause. No. Those are just rationalizations. That's all that is at the end of the day. You have to evaluate actions. If something's wrong and bad for others, it's wrong and bad for you. You have to universalize these things, or else there is no moral code. Everything is just totally, arbitrary and subjective and subject to the whims of anybody, which is why we always say the U.S. needs to act internationally as any other country, as we would expect of any other country. We need to think about an action that we take. What if a government we despise did it? What if Iran did it? How would we feel? That's how you evaluate your actions. You gotta, put the shoe on the other foot. That's what you gotta do. You always have to do these intellectual exercises to try to figure out what really is the moral thing. Am I giving myself extra slack because I'm me? This is what Trump does. If you're a cop, you're one of the good guys, you do what you want, and he hates the media, and he loves the cops. So even when it's a guy who wouldn't hurt a fly and has never done anything wrong, if he got attacked by the cops, he'll say it's a beautiful thing. Why is it beautiful? Because you hate the media and you like the cops. Because you're a thug and you're a criminal. This is the kind of guy who he wouldn't hesitate to commit a number of crimes, Trump, because he's already defined himself as one of the good guys. So it doesn't count when I do it. Yeah, I mean, it really is childish thinking, and unfortunately, many people subscribe to this. And in typical Trump fashion, so he got his name wrong. He called him Welchie? What is that? I have no idea what that is. It sounds like a character in a cartoon or something, right? Welchie. What is that? And then also, I don't know if you saw it in this clip, but he says, a CNN host. He's an MSNBC host. So he gets that wrong too. But yeah, nothing pisses me off more than this whole, use law and order as you advocate for the opposite of law and order. That really gets under my skin. And it reminds me of one of the State of the Union addresses. Trump spoke about how he's the president of law and order, and then he went on to explain how he just signed an executive order on torture, which allows us to keep torturing. And it's like, you don't see what you just did there. You really don't see that. Law and order, but I love torture. torture would be violating law and order. Not just law and order, it's also violating the Constitution, the 8th Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment. He violated that. I'm going to break the ultimate law as I say I'm for law and order. God damn it, this annoys me, man. It really does get under my skin. But anyway, MSNBC released a statement in solidarity with Ali Velshi and was like, can you believe this? I mean, this guy, he hates press freedom. He hates law and order, as he does the opposite all the time. He's out there saying law and order and arguing with free speech on college campuses. This is a real violation of freedom of speech right here. This is a real violation of a free press. Attacking journalists incentivizes journalists to not question power and authority as much, right? But that's what Trump wants. By the way, same time, Edward Snowden's still overseas, hiding from an oppressive U.S. government. Julian Assange, his administration's going after Julian Assange still. Pardon those two. Then we'll have a conversation about law and order.